Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news as Anthony Martial heads for the exit door as United receive a bid for him. Also, does that mean Timo Werner will be on his way very, very soon? We'll also be talking about Jadon Sancho, what's happening there, and why Sergio Reguilón leaving Manchester United opens up another opportunity for a loan deal. And also, what I wanted to talk about tonight and really get into what was going to be the biggest topic until the Martial bid, in fact, was how does Erik ten Hag survive at Manchester United? He's had a vote of confidence. He wants to stay. But realistically, what does Ten Hag have to do to survive be here next season, be here the season after that? What has he got to do? I.e., what are the expectations and standards that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is going to set? Will it just be top four every year? Will it be fifth? Does he actually think we're winning titles? It's going to be really interesting on what those standards are, and we'll be talking about that as well. And also, it is our last show with the Christmas tree. We did give it a name. I can't remember what it was called. Tomorrow, you're going in the loft. Don't be bitter for how I'm going to treat you. Be grateful for the good times we had. Too many people in life, when it's the end, get bitter and twisted. Think about the good times. Don't be bitter, be better. We've had some great times this last month, and maybe next year we'll have some more. Or this year, actually. November this year. Anyway, let's get on with the show. Lots to get into. Anthony Martial. Apparently, Manchester United, we called it Brenda, didn't we? Did we? I don't know. Apparently, Manchester United have received a bid of €7 million for Anthony Martial from Fenerbahce. A pitiful amount of money, but of course, it means he would be off the wage bill. That would be reduced straight away. And actually, how much money are you going to get for Anthony Martial, who barely played any football last season because of injury, and then has barely played any football this season because we've picked Rasmus over him? So, yeah, you know what? I get the frustration, I get the anger, I get the disappointment. But you know, again, you've got to be realistic, haven't you? Like, who's going to pay decent money for Anthony Martial? I don't, you know, as DJ says, don't really care, get rid of him. And I think that this is a logical thing to do. It's we need to get ruthless. And I'm not going to complain about this. You know what? Because I'll be a hypocrite. I'll be an absolute hypocrite if I say I can't believe how much money we've got for him. Because that's like saying I can't believe how crap we are at transfers when I already know. Or it's like saying don't let him go until we get a better figure, which is what United have been doing for years. It's basically better to get rid of these players, take the hit, and create the space and move on. So, look, I think that Man United, the worst thing to do is start loaning because he's out of contract in the summer anyway. And, of course, he's out of contract in the summer. So, you know, there's only 6 months left on his contract. So if you get 3 or 4 million and you take his wages off the wage bill, then that's what you do. But I called this weeks ago. Weeks ago, I said that this is just going to be another embarrassing player walks away for next to nothing when we spent £55 million on him in transfer fees, tens of millions of pounds in wages. Well, maybe not tens of millions, but I don't know. Well, I don't know. How many years has he been here? 5 years, 200 grand a week. That's 800 grand a month. I hope. Yeah, it is 8 million. Well, it is tens of millions of pounds then, isn't it? I'm right. I'm absolutely right. See you next Christmas, Chris, says Kipper. That's what the tree was called. And Jem says farewell, star of the show. He'd probably still be here in the morning, but I don't think I can put my light. I don't know when you're meant to take it down. I think it's January the 6th. So, yeah, I can have the lights on, but not tomorrow night. That's what I'm thinking there. He's been here for 7 years. Of course, it's tens of millions of pounds. And Matthew McFadden says he's been for 8.5 years. So, yeah, we've spent... I mean, it's incredible. Anthony Martial... We've spent £55 million on him because it was 36 million plus add-ons and we paid most of the add-ons. So let's say 50 million quid's been spent on transfers and then we've probably spent 30, 40 million on wages. You're getting on for £100 million over the 7.5 years or 8 years or however many it is. It's incredible. But another sign of how Man United are shocking at selling, says Akash. But yeah, you've just got to move him on. You've got to move him on. You're accused of clickbaits today, says Partip. By who? Let me know, Partip. It's a Friday night. I've had a drink. Let me know by who, and I'll answer it. But I'm not aware of this. I suppose you have to read the comments and watch other shit content to be aware of all this. But I live in my lane with you lot. I don't go searching for beef. I go to Nando's for chicken, but I don't really go searching for beef. Although last night I had some lovely steak at a lovely restaurant, and it was very, very nice. But I don't know who it is. I don't know who it is. Do you think Ineos watch your videos? Says Callum. I think they'd watch a collection. If I'm being honest, I do. But we're going to talk about them in a minute. 12th night is tonight, says Paul Waters, so it's got to be tonight. Okay, that's fine. But look, what I was going to say is, and I really want to say this, is that I was quite balanced with Jadon Sancho. I said that, look, what he did, you need to move him on, and we're going to talk about him in a moment. But I didn't like all the stuff about his private life, about him being moody and this or arrogant and stuff like that. I don't really care about that in the sense of, you know, we need to move him on because of how he's performed on the pitch. We need to move him on because of the tweets and stuff like that. We need to move him on because he's not behaved well. But I don't, you know, going after a guy and his personality, I've never been a fan of. And in relation to Anthony Martial, I've got to be honest, it's not all been bad. It hasn't always been bad with Anthony Martial, but I think the press has always been bad. From very early days, they went for him. They were calling him moody. I think his treatment by the British press over the last however many years has been a disgrace. I think certain ex-players have jumped on that as well, and they may have been proved right in the end. But everybody's proved right in the end. Rooney had to go in the end. Like, everybody comes to the end. I think the treatment over the career of Martial by certain people has been too far. I don't think he was lazy. I don't think he was moody. And I don't think he always was crap. I actually think over the last 18 months, his biggest problem has been injury. I thought last season when he was actually fit, he was a very important player. For me, Martial's a bit of a, you know, he's a bit of a 50-50. Like, I never agreed with the moodiness. I never agreed with the, you know, the fact that he was a problem. I never agreed with a lot of that. I just thought, really, he got treated like shit by Jose, and he's had a lot of injuries recently, and it hasn't worked out, and he has to go, and he is symbolic of probably 6 or 7 players that need to go. But they're not all bad people. You know, if you said Harry Maguire's got to go, he's not a bad person. He's just probably not the right player. If you said Scott McTominay's got to go, he's definitely not a bad person. I know that for a fact. He does care about United. He's just not good enough. We don't have to make everybody a villain. And I think Martial was turned into a villain when he didn't need to be. There's never been a story about Anthony Martial being late for training. There's never been a story about Anthony Martial causing problems. In fact, Anthony Martial's quite a shy and reserved kid. I've always said this. He could easily have boot deals with Adidas and be doing what Paul Pogba was doing and what Marcus Rashford does and what Bruno does. But he doesn't do that. I think he's been treated a little bit unfairly, and I certainly won't look at Martial as a player that we need to boo or anything like that. Far from it. But he does need to go, and I agree with Sakin. We need to start clearing the deadwood, and first one on that list is Martial, Maguire, McTominay, Sancho. They've all got to go, and I agree, but not because I dislike them. Do you think we can sell him to Nice? He's French, says Caleb, and well, I don't know about that. I don't know about that, but Martial going is a good thing because he's out of contract in the summer. And I would like to see us get these types of deals done now. And I've said this to you for years, haven't I? You've got, you know, there's no point in it. John Murtagh was idiotic. And when he stated, we don't like to do anything in January, we like to do it in the summer. It's so stupid. It's like having the whole weekend to clean your house and going, I don't like to do anything on Saturday. I like to rush it all in on Sunday. Well, if you use Saturday, it's easier. And it's exactly the same with the transfer window. We've got so much to do in this summer. If Martial's gone, then that's not a job you've got to do in the summer, so you've got more time. So getting Martial out in January is a really positive. We're not going to make any money out of it. We will save a bit in wages. In fact, if you can get Martial out in January, that's 5 months of wages on 800 grand a week. So that's nearly 5 million quid. Well, it is just about 5 million quid saved. So, you know, start doing the business, get rid of him. We will then bring a striker in. I told you this. I think I told you this. I think I told you this yesterday morning, but exclusively, whatever. Call it what you like. As of now, Timo Werner is the #1 choice for Erik ten Hag and Manchester United on a loan deal. That's the player they want to bring in. Whether you like that or not, that's the player they're trying to bring in. Chopper mooting isn't happening, thank God. Timo Werner's the player they want to bring in. They're not looking at Timo Werner as being a long-term solution. They're looking at him being Sabitzer from last year, a player that they like, who they think can do a good job for them. And if he does a good job for them, they can look at it in the summer as a long-term thing. But if it doesn't work out, they've not lost anything and he can go back to Leipzig. So Timo Werner is the player United are looking at. I'm told that there are other clubs looking at him, so it might not be that straightforward. And they might have to divert to somebody else like Malen. But it's definitely Werner that they're looking at. So, look, Werner for Martial, you'd hope that that would work out a little bit better. Martial is a winger. He's not a number 9. Better on the left, says Magic. And anyone dissing Martial, don't forget that legendary season where Rashford, Martial and Mason looked amazing. Exactly, Sakin. This is what I mean. I don't think you can look at Anthony Martial like you can look at Di Maria or someone like that. There were good times. And, you know, the one thing I would say about Martial, and I think it's the thing that Mourinho would say about Martial, but you can say it about a lot of people. Did Anthony Martial have the mentality to be a Manchester United player? Would Anthony Martial have survived in 08 or 99 or 94? Absolutely not. And that's how I look at it. You don't have to hate on a player. You don't have to call them a problem. You don't have to call them toxic. I think Anthony Martial was never really a massive problem in relation to moodiness or toxicity. But did he have the mentality required to be a Manchester United player? And no is the answer to that. No. But we don't need to go, well, he's a wanker, fuck off. It's not about that. Tell me a player in the current squad that does. Tell me a player in the current squad that would survive in 99, 94, 08 Man United sides. And there may be 1, 2, you know, but that's the big problem. We don't have any real Manchester United players. Getting Werner is criminal. What are we doing, says Jawad. But Jawad, I'm not going to go repeating stuff on a Friday night. It's a good show. It's a good vibe. And I've already explained it to you. People who are getting angry about Werner don't understand what's happening at the football club. We're not spending money in January on a striker. That'll be done in the summer. So do you want Werner or nothing? Because there's no budget. So you're getting somebody in on loan. So I would love to know what you would do, Jawad, because to me it's baffling how people go, fuck off, don't want Werner. What's going on at this football club? It's in the mud. And I see that and I go, but you're not understanding the situation. It's like you've shit your pants and somebody says, do you want my second-hand pants? No, or do you want to walk around like you've shit yourself? Thank you. I'll have those second-hand pants. They've been washed. All right, they're not brand new, but I'll take them. And this is the problem. People don't understand the situation. Like we don't have the money to do it. So, you know, do it. Just pay for Dybala, says Hayden. I mean, do I have to speak to you about Dybala again? Do I have to speak to you about the fact that I don't think he's got the mentality? Do I have to speak to you about the fact that he's injury prone? I don't think Dybala is the answer for Manchester United. I really, really don't. But I do like Dybala, but only on a loan deal. I don't want us to. My stance is I don't want us to spend money on anyone in January. I want to do a loan with an option to buy in the summer. I don't want to do, let's activate Dybala's release clause and be stuck with him for the next 5 years on 200 grand a week. Or let's get Garassi, who might be a flash in the pan. I just want somebody to come in on loan with the potential to kickstart their career. And even if it doesn't work, at least they're, you know, an option and they're okay. We're not gonna solve our striker problems in January. We won't. And I don't think people understand that, because I see people in the chat and they're going, oh my God, fuck my life, Werner. I can't believe we're going for Werner. And I'm like, well, it's Werner, Malen, Garassi, Choupo-Moting. What are you going to do? Because they're all different shades of something. And you take what you can get. That's where we're at. That's where we're at. And I would take Werner out of those lot because, you know, as much as I go Timo and all that, I actually think there's aspects to Werner's game that were okay. He just couldn't finish. Do you think we will ever be the same United? And if so, when? And how do you think that will happen, says Saw. I can't answer that question. I'd love to answer that question, but I can't. Partip says, accused of clickbait. But mate, you know what? I'm not going to start getting into beefs with other people or anything like that. But when people are talking about us, they're obviously very, very bitter. I respect other people who go and do their own content. It's not easy. But people who start slagging the United Stand off, who are also content creators, you're tiny compared to us. Absolutely tiny. We've been doing it better than you for longer than you. And I'm not saying you should respect it, but why are you slagging it off? I don't get it. Focus on yourself. Well, if you're talking about us, it's because you're bothered by us. Do it your way. Don't start talking about us. It's really embarrassing. And the best thing is, I've met that guy. And you know, I'm not even joking. He shit himself. Not literally. I didn't have to go and get him some toilet roll, but he was like, "Oh, hi, Mark. How are you?" Like, so I struggle with these people because you meet them face to face and they don't say anything. And it's not that I'm looking to have a fight or anything like that. I'll speak to anybody, but I find it laughable how bitter everybody gets about what we do when, you know, we're just doing our thing. Do your own thing. It's not easy. It's a hard graft. Trying to grow by slagging people off is so 2017. Werner will offer 100% effort. This is needed, says Matt. And anyway, thanks to Partick for coming back because he did mention that early on. And I think the turnover in managers at United can affect players' confidence and ability, says Kipper. And how credible is Benzema to Man United in the summer? I think it's bull. It has to be bull, Milton. It has to be bull. It has to be. It really does. Lee says, stay humble, Mark. You're better than them. Look, I used to be a right shithouse when I started doing this. I used to gob off about everybody because I came into it thinking I'm going to be like the Liam Gallagher of the YouTube space. And I was really gobby. All the AFTV stuff, the football matches, the DT, all that. Gobby Goldbridge. That's what it was. And I look back on it and I go, what a waste of time. You know, what a waste of time. I look at anybody who creates content and I respect it. I don't have to like it, but I respect it because it's a hard graft and there are so many people doing it now. Some are very heavily influenced by us. You look at their screen and you go, okay, that's very similar graphics. That's a very similar background. But you know what they say? What's it? The biggest compliment is, copying or whatever like that. So I don't care. I'm not interested in any of that. I'm not interested in any of that. And I want, it took us away from what we want to talk about. It's irrelevant. We're all content creators. The consumer makes the choice. I don't need to get involved in arguments about who's better or this, that, and the other. And I'll tell you what, you can call the United Stand clickbait, but we have a news show in the morning, which is about the news, some of that news is bullshit, and we call it out. But also, we've had some amazing exclusives just in the last 6 months. We were down outside Old Trafford yesterday with the footage of Sir Jim Radcliffe going in. We've had all sorts of stuff around injuries and everything. So, yeah, you don't have to like it, but having a pop at it. When people have a pop at it, I don't take it personally. It doesn't bother me, but I'm very protective of the community because we built this over 10 years, and I'm very protective of you lot, and that's how I feel. What did Dylan say to his mate's mum? We don't know, Zach. That's still hanging out there. We don't know. And Magic says, I think times are changing and trying to find dedicated players. You end up with McTominay. I want to talk about how Erik ten Hag survives at Manchester United because it says there, will Ten Hag succeed at United? He's had a boost of confidence in the sense that Sir Jim Radcliffe is basically giving him, a vote of confidence. Ten Hag obviously wants to stay. So he has now... Some people are really unhappy about this, by the way, and I get it. Some people are saying, how the fuck are we in this position? Like, he's been humiliated by Bournemouth at home. We're out of Europe completely. He's been battered by Forest in his last game, and he's sat there with a smile on his face, comfortable in a position. Like you know what? I read, I see, I watch, and there are some United fans out there that are royally pissed off that a manager can sit there smiling in training and at a press conference when, he's presiding over a steaming, festering turd of shit, and he's basically saying it's all because Casemiro and Martinez are injured. Some people are really unhappy about this, and I sort of get it. I mean, I have to be careful because obviously I don't want Ten Hag to be sacked, and I still believe he can do well at United, but in a way, I sort of understand it as well. I mean, he's a very lucky man. He's a very lucky man, and I don't respect Samuel Luckhurst much, but I saw a clip with him yesterday, and he was sort of alluding to it as well. I think he was saying the only reason he's not Ten Hag out is because Ineos have almost given him another boost of time. If Ineos wasn't there and it was just the Glazers, I think he'd be in big trouble. I think we can all agree with that. So the Ineos thing has probably saved him in a way, and you can't, God knows I've tried, but you can't justify being out of Europe completely in January and some of the results he's having. And some of them are so predictable. So, look, but he has been given that time. I wouldn't make a change until the summer anyway. And I suppose the question is how does he survive? What's he got to do? Because I've watched football all my life. And there's very few examples of managers who turn it around when they're in trouble. You know, for every one example you can give me, I'll give you 30 of managers who, when it goes wrong, it ends up with the sack. Loads of them. And look, Moyes, Ollie, Van Gaal, Jose, they never turned it around. They might have got the odd result here and there, but they could never turn the ship around. And Ten Hag has got a very big ship to turn around here. He is sinking. You know, he's taking on water. And how is he going to get that back floating again? It's going to be very interesting. And I want to talk about that. What do you think our ceiling is for the next couple of seasons, says Saw? I don't know. I really don't know, mate, because I suppose that sort of fits in with what we're about to talk about here. What I would flow that back and say, well, what are the standards? The ceiling surely has to match the standards. Akash says, if Ineos are here for football reasons, then Erik Ten Hag gets a chance to fail or succeed. Injuries won't protect him, though. I want Erik Ten Hag to be given time. United job is challenging, but I hope everyone agrees that Ten Hag had the most problems since Sir Alex, and most of the problems weren't really his fault, says Shahin. And is it just me, or do the owners always seem to give the coach a vote of confidence then right before they sack them, says Sifu. Yeah, that's why I called it a vote of confidence, mate, because this happens a lot with new owners. It really does. And interestingly as well, this sort of feeds into Jadon Sancho. So with Jadon Sancho, the deal is not done yet, but it will be done. And there was a little bit of conflict about whether there'd be an option to buy for Dortmund, which Manchester United don't want. And also from Sancho's camp, there's a story coming out, whether it's true or not, that he actually doesn't feel that his Man United career is definitely over. He just feels under the current regime of Ten Hag, he's got to get away because he can't play for him. So we could see a scenario where you add it all together, where Ten Hag is sacked in the summer, Sancho comes back for pre-season in July under a new coach and gets another go. I suppose I've got to give my honest opinion on that, and I wouldn't be very happy about it because that's player power. That's player power that we've got to get rid of. I'm not saying Man United would be opposed to it. They might go, the new manager might say, yeah, I want to give him a chance, but it's player power. It's pure and simple player power. You've got a player that won't play for this manager, but then if another manager comes in and kisses his arse, he will play. And by kissing his arse, I'm being a bit blunt, but you know what I mean. If another manager comes in and says, Jadon, I want to put you in my team and I want to play you every week, he's probably going to play and he's probably going to, try. But I don't trust that. I don't trust that mentality. I don't trust the mentality of a player that can pick his tools up and drop them dependent on how he's treated by the manager. I think that you've got, to be a Man United player, you've got to be better than that. You've got to be better than that. But there could be a pathway back to Sancho, only if Ten Hag gets the sack in the summer. Never say never. But look, in relation to the standards and relation to how Erik Ten Hag survives at Manchester United, it starts against Wigan on Monday. It continues against Spurs next weekend. And it continues pretty much every week. I don't think there's much wiggle room. I think the upside, if you want Ten Hag out, is that there's no wiggle room here. Like, it's there in black and white. Out of Europe, humiliating results, nowhere near the top four, halfway through the season, no pre-season, no transfer window is going to save him. He has to get to work now with what he's got. And if there's another humiliation or there's another loss that shouldn't be happening, then I think he's on thin ice, and I think he'll fall through it. So yeah, he's had a vote of confidence. Yeah, he wants to work with Ineos, and Ineos want to work with him. But he ain't out the woods. He's not out the woods at all. If this was a boxing match, he's been pummeled. The ring, the bell has saved him, but the fight's not over. You've got to come out and fight again. And that's going to be the question. How does he survive? Because he might get through till the summer. I think Martinez, Casemiro can be really important, but you never know what other injuries you're going to get. How's he going to utilise Mason Mount? That's a problem. He's still got Onana to come good. So there's still problems there for Ten Hag. We're only in January. And even if he does get to the summer, they still might get rid of him. And then if they do keep him, how does he keep his job next year? Because Liverpool aren't going to go anywhere. In fact, when you look at Liverpool, they're going to get better, I think. Arsenal, I don't think they're going to go anywhere. Man City won't go anywhere either. Newcastle are very, very rich. Villa could still be a very good team next year. Spurs as well. Not forgetting the Brightons of this world, and not forgetting the Chelseas of this world. So, you know, even if he survives to the summer and they give him next season, I don't think it gets any easier for him. I think this really comes down to some quite interesting stuff around what are the standards at Manchester United, because we don't know. We don't know. We've heard stuff about, you know, I almost laughed at this comment. I don't know whether it was The Athletic or The Mirror or the BBC, but somebody said, Sir Jim's not in it for the money. He's in it because he wants Manchester United to be successful. And I felt like running down the street with my top off going, hallelujah. And then I realised, well, Qatar weren't in it for the money either. They were in to make Man United great. I mean, it's actually very rare to have an owner that's in it for just business purposes. In fact, we are the only ones who have that. So when a story comes out, Sir Jim's not in it for the money, he's in it to make Man United good. I was like, oh my God, wake up and smell the coffee. That is not a... What am I supposed to do? Oh my God, this is... I mean, like, we are the only club in the Premier League that has an owner that's only in it for business. It's actually standard practice that an owner wants the team to do well. The fact that got reported made me laugh. I think we were all meant to start, you know, singing and dancing. But of course, I mean, what was meant to happen? Oh, I'm in it for the money. Of course he's in it to make Man United great again, because that's what an owner's meant to do. So, you know, I think that the big thing is what Ineos thinks possible. What do they think's possible? Do they think, and this will define our future on what they do, because you look at somebody like Salford, they sack their managers all the time because I think they should be getting promoted to League One. You look at Watford, they sack their managers all the time because they think they should be a Premier League club instead of being a yo-yo club. These are standards set by owners. What do Ineos and Sir Jim think is achievable for Manchester United? And what do you think is achievable? Because you're not the owner, but what do you think Man United are? What do you think is the standard to set realistically? Because my standard is what we should do is win the league every year or compete for it. And then every 4 or 5 years, go deep in the Champions League. Reality, I don't think it's possible anymore. I don't think we can do that anymore. I don't think we can challenge for the league properly. And I certainly don't think we can win the Champions League. So I think Ten Hag's future really depends on the standards that Ineos want to set, because they can make all the changes in the world. They can make all the infrastructure changes in the world. They can bring the best CEO, the best director of football, but they have to do something amazing around the investment side of things, because it doesn't matter how good your CEO is. You can make marginal gains, but marginal gains for let me be blunt, significant gains for Manchester United would be to be in the top 4 every year. You look at the last 10 years, I think 60% of the time we've not been in the Champions League. So marginal gains would be in Europe every 2 out of 3 years. Champions League. To be in the Champions League every year wouldn't be a marginal gain. It'd be a massive gain. So what are these marginal gains going to add up to? Because if we want to compete for titles, we're going to need hundreds of millions of pounds every summer to spend. And I don't see how that's going to happen. So I don't know. Look, the Glazers lied to us for years. We can do anything we want in the transfer market. We want to win the biggest prizes. But they're so empty. I would actually respect Sir Jim Ratcliffe if he came out in a statement and said pretty much what Jose said. This football club hasn't been to a quarter-final of a Champions League. When was the last time we went to the quarter-finals of the Champions League? Was it... You know what, I forget in Europe because I don't remember failure. That's my problem. I don't dwell on failure. So I can tell you all the times we've been to finals, but was it Bayern Munich under Moyes? Was that a quarter-final? Did Jose do it as well? Did Ollie do it? I don't know. I don't know. Moyes did it with Bayern. Barcelona 2019 after beating PSG in the, of course, harder than a wedding night stick. Yes. So we don't go to the Champions League very often. We don't go to Champions League quarterfinals very often, do we? And we've only finished second twice in 10 years in the Premier League, and both times we were 25 points off. I think in the last 10 years, we've qualified in the top 4 5 or 6 times. I mean, look, these are stats you will know. I've not researched this, but it all adds up to the same thing. I would respect Sir Jim Radcliffe if he sat down and said, honestly, if you look at the last 10 years, the debt, the money that's been spent, the financial situation of the club, the need to rebuild Old Trafford and how much that's going to cost, and the fact that we consistently don't really do anything around the major trophies, I don't want to sit here and say we're going to win the Premier League, we're going to win the Champions League. I want to do that, and that has to be the benchmark. But if we're being completely honest with ourselves, if over the next 5 years we qualify for the Champions League 4 times and we win 2 domestic trophies, that will be better than anything we've achieved in the last 10 years, because it's consistently getting in the Champions League. And you know what? That's terrifying but true. If somebody offered us Champions League qualification 4 times out of the next 5 years and 2 domestic trophies, we'd all sit there and say, fuck off. But actually, it would be more than we've done. All right, we've won a Europa League and we've won a Carabao Cup and we've won an FA Cup, but 2 domestic trophies and qualifying for the Champions League 4 times out of the next 5 years would be the best consistent 5 years we've had since Sir Alex Ferguson retired. That would be a massive improvement on where we are now. But it's not what we want. What we will get is we will get the same old stuff we've always had. We want to be the best team in England. But it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't actually mean anything. In fact, you're bullshitting people, because you might want to be that, but it's not real. That's not real. We're not going to be sustainably the best team in England. We may, if everything aligns, do a Leicester. We might do that and win it once, but we're not going to sustainably get back to where we were. Football's changed. So I would like a little bit of honesty. I really, really would, because I don't know what the standard is going to be and what the expectation is going to be. And obviously that's going to have a big impact on Ten Hag, but it shouldn't be kept privately. I think one of the big things about the United fan base is it's been lied to for so long. I think we could do with a little bit of honesty. You know what? Let's put it like this. I've got a few super chats to catch up on, but I've got the list of them, so they might have disappeared off there. But if I was CEO, not CEO, if I owned Manchester United and I came in and I wasn't Qatar and I had money to put in, but I didn't fully own the club, so I was never going to chuck 500 million at the club every summer. If I was sat down, it's risky, but I would say, look, I love this football club and I know the fans have suffered for the last decade. I want to take us back to where we should be, but we should be under no illusion here that the pathway to doing that is very, very difficult. It's very, very difficult because there are clubs out there that are richer than us, whether we like it or not. It's very, very difficult because there's 7 or 8 other clubs trying to do exactly what we're doing, just in England. There are also 4 or 5 clubs that have got better stadia than us and they've already spent on it, and we haven't done that yet. So honestly, I want to take this club to Premier League titles and I believe I can do it. But if I'm being completely honest with the fans, I want to build a relationship with these fans and I don't want to set a target that is not hit and lose trust. What I'm looking at over the next 5 years is to consistently qualify for the Champions League, because that's something we've not done over the last 10 years. That means I consistently want us to be in the top 4 for the next 5 years. I'd also like to be challenging for trophies, and whatever trophies that we're in for, I want that to happen. And at some point, I want us to be fighting for the title again. But let's not lie to ourselves. This club has not been where it needed to be for 10 years. It's not going to get that back there overnight. And it's going to take a lot of hard work, and I'm in it for the long run. But let's not set unrealistic expectations about winning titles within 3 years and, dominating English football. We're not in that time anymore. But I don't think we'll get that. I don't think we'll get that because I think everybody has to be saying, we're going to win the title. We're going to win the title. That's what we're here to do, to make it Manchester United great again. I don't actually think you can. I don't think you can. I think Jose Mourinho could have been our future if we did a club clear out. What do you think? Says Saw. I think I regret the way that Mourinho was treated, but I don't think we were aware of the extent of the player power at the time. Did you hear about the Osman to Chelsea news, says the AI? No, but I've always fancied Chelsea to do that deal. And it'd be a very good deal if they did it. I think Chelsea would change overnight with someone like Osman up front. Kartik, welcome to the Members Club. And International says the marginal gains concept works very well for clubs like City and Real Madrid. Oh, yeah. Yes. Marginal gains and Sir David Brailsford works absolutely fantastic if, like if you had a really good 2023, fitness, health, relationships, holidays, work. If you had a really good 2023, in 2024, you look at marginal gains. How can I just add a little bit? I had a really good year. How do I add a little bit? Marginal gains are great, but Man United actually need huge gains, not marginal gains. Always loving watching the United stand, says Nick. Have done since near the beginning. Agree with you, Mark. Give Eric time. They gave Sir Alex time. Keep it up. Thank you very much, Nick. We're also the only club owning by someone and being run by someone. We're just used to it, but it's actually insane, says Shahin. And it's hard to believe anyone can put this disaster on Eric Ten Hag, says Wan. And when do you reckon the sporting management overall is going to happen? Like when are Dan Ashworth and the lot come in? I don't think they'll come in until February 2nd. Yeah, I think that's when that'll happen. Where are the football people at the club, says Malps. Well, hopefully, like we were just talking about there, they'll be coming in soon. And Danny says that Sancho not playing for the manager is bull. He's not playing for the fans or the badge. That's exactly the mentality we need to sell and to move on. I love that, Danny. I love that. I've said it numerous times. All this bollock. And it's not just Jadon Sancho. And it's not, every player that down tools for Ollie, down tools for the fans. Every player that turned on Jose and down tools on the fans. Every player that couldn't be asked to play for Rangnick couldn't be asked to play for the fans. And we as a fan, but it doesn't matter what any other club does. Let Chelsea do what they want. But as Manchester United fans, we should never forget that. When they say players are downing tools, or when you see players not putting the effort in, they're not. They might be doing it because they want the manager to get the sack. But don't allow that. If you don't put the effort in and you don't play well for Manchester United, you're not playing for the fans. You're not playing for the history of this football club. And they should be called out for that. I agree. Jose finishing second with this team hits me hard, says Philip. Well, Ollie did it as well. I'm just saying. Just very, very quickly as well, because otherwise I'll forget, because we're sort of locked into a really good conversation here. Apparently, well, not apparently, Reguilon, remember I was saying that Reguilon's obviously gone to save some money. He's also gone to free up a loan space, because if Reguilon goes, then you got an opportunity to loan somebody else in, as I understand. So it is about saving money, but it's also about freeing up a loan space. But look, more and more, we're hearing that a lot of what United are doing in January is about trying to save money. And obviously Ineos are happy about this, but they're trying to save as much money as they can. They've got to get that wage bill down. It doesn't matter if somebody's got £200 million to spend. You can't do it because of financial fair play, because our wage bill is so big. So we've got to get that wage bill down. And that's why, look, moving on Anthony Martial makes sense because he's had his time. Moving on Varane doesn't really make sense because he's still our best centre-back. But, oh, hello, he's on a big wage. If we get rid of him, that saves us, $1 million a month. So they are looking at ways to save money. Apparently, Alvaro Fernandez, who's on loan in La Liga, they're looking at terminating his loan to sell him to Benfica. And this hurts. I think he's a really good player. I think Alvaro Fernandez is a really good player. In fact, remember what I said in the summer? It was about end of June, and somebody asked me a question on the live show. Who do you think will be the surprise breakthrough player this year? And I said, it's a long shot, but it depends whether he goes on loan. But I think Alvaro Fernandez is a really good prospect. And it looks like we are going to bring him back to sell him. Which I just think... the mentality of the club needs to change. We sold James Garner, not because we wanted to sell him. Ten Hag wanted to loan Garner, but we sold him because we couldn't sell anybody and we needed to raise some money. So we sold a young player. And again, getting rid of Varane. It's not really, you don't get rid of your best centre-back. It's because we want to save money. Getting rid of Alvaro Fernandez, it's because we want to save money. It's not, it's an indication of the problems at the club when you're letting players go, not because you want to, but because you need to raise money. As I said, if they want to raise money, sell Scott McTominay for 30 million quid. I just don't. It's the most obvious thing in the world to do. He's in his prime. He's Scotland's Player of the Year. He's not good enough for Manchester United. Sell McTominay for 30 million quid. Everybody's a winner, even the player, and you got 30 million pounds. Do it. Sir Alex proved it takes a few seasons to finally build a winning team that played for him. Eric Ten Hag would need a couple more seasons, says Angelo. Look, I love that. I love that mentality. I love that statement. I love the idea that maybe, maybe Eric Ten Hag can turn this around. But I also have to acknowledge that he is on thin ice. Like, he's on really thin ice. New owners have new ideas. Look, John Murtaugh's not getting a sniff. Richard Arnold, not getting a sniff. New CEO, new director of football. New manager? Why not? Not my words. The words of Ineos. And it's not their words. But what I'm saying is, they're coming in with new ideas. So, it's possible that he gets replaced. Sihil says, why don't we trigger the Dybala release clause since we're strapped for cash? He's miles better than Werner. But, mate, he'll be on massive wages. And it's not a long-term deal. He has got injury problems. And Werner would be a short-term loan deal. So, you want to do something permanent in January, and I don't think that's a good idea. I really don't think that doing something permanent in January is a good idea. And I'm just looking at Dybala's injury history, and it's bloody terrible. Just in the last year, he's had hamstring injury, stress reaction of the bone, abductor pain, ankle sprain, ankle problems, abductor pain, collateral ligament injury, and hamstring muscle injury. And that's all in the last year. Before that, he wasn't having many problems. But how old is he now? Is he 29? 30. So he's hitting that point of his career where, he's starting to get injured a lot. I don't think it's a good deal. Igshan says, Ten Hag is not ruthless as he was when coming in. Do not know what changed, and we have not played our best 11 yet either. Just hope Højlund gets better. I find it hard to believe that things can get any worse. Saul, welcome to the Members Club. I find it hard to believe that anything... Philip Prince, it's the quote that Jose said that hits me hard is what I meant when he finished second place. But look, I find it hard to believe that we can be any worse this season when we've got Casemiro, Martinez, Varane, Højlund, Bruno, Mainu, Shaw, Rashford, Garnacho. Surely we won't lose as many games in the second half of the season. Sean Turner says, people need to stop talking about Ten Hag needs a few seasons. He's got 4 months, 18 games to save himself. He can't afford to lose any more than 3 or 4 games or he's gone. Sean, sometimes you are absolutely, you nail it. Sometimes he gets it wrong, but I think Sean there absolutely nails it. Whether you like it or not, whether I like it or not, whether Sean likes it or not, I think he's absolutely spot on. Ten Hag's got 4 months to change his job. To save his job. I'm pretty sure Ineos have got something lined up. And they should have. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, Brighton will know who De Zerbi's replacement is. They'll have 3 or 4 candidates. Liverpool will know who they're looking at for... A good football club will always have a replacement lined up. Always. And Ineos, I reckon, will have options for the summer. And if Ten Hag, like Sean says, he's got 4 months. If he loses a load of more games, he'll be gone. If he starts winning games and turns things around, he's got a chance of staying. We don't live in the late 80s anymore. You don't get 4 seasons to rebuild a club anymore. Social media didn't exist then. The Premier League didn't exist then. People didn't get sacked as much then. he's absolutely spot on. He's got 4 months to turn this around, and if he continues to lose, he's probably got less time than that. And it's almost worth saying, like, what are our next few fixtures? Because Sean's right, he can't afford to lose any games. FA Cup, let's ignore that for the moment. Premier League games: Spurs at home, Wolves away, West Ham at home, Villa away, Luton away, Fulham at home, City away, Everton at home, Sheffield United, Brentford, Chelsea away, Liverpool at home, Bournemouth away, Newcastle at home, Burnley, and then Crystal Palace away, Arsenal at home, Brighton. I look at that, and when Sean says he can't afford to lose any more than 3 or 4 games, I look at Wolves away, I look at Spurs at home, I look at Villa away, I look at City away, I look at Liverpool at home, I look at Chelsea away, I look at Bournemouth away, I look at Newcastle at home, maybe not, Arsenal at home, Brighton away. I mean, I'm not saying that we're guaranteed to beat Crystal Palace away or Fulham at home or anything like that, but I can definitely see 6 or 7 games where you go, fucking hell. And that's the problem. That's the problem. There's 6 or 7 games that you look at and go, they're losable on any season. But because we've had such a bad start to the season, he can't afford to lose those games. So if you are Ten Hag out, I would say to you tonight, he's starting from a very bad position. And I believe Sean is right. If he loses 5 or 6 games between now and the end of the summer, I won't be surprised because of some of the games we've got to play. Straight away, we've got to play Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool, Spurs, Brighton. There are 6 or 7 losses there, potentially, without the Crystal Palaces away and the Bournemouths away. But if he loses 5 or 6 games, I think he'll get the sack. So it's a huge job for him. It's not a clean slate. It's not a clean sheet. He's on thin ice, and he's going to be given an opportunity. And what he has got to do between now and the summer is win a lot of games, go deep in the FA Cup, and push for top 4. And if he doesn't, I think he'll be gone. Just out of curiosity, if any of us gave Erik ten Hag his marching orders in the summer, who would you like to see them approach, says Rory. I've said this so many times. Who the hell do they get to replace him, as what Matt's saying as well? Look, there's no candidate that jumps out. I've always said Ancelotti, because I think we need aura, experience, and somebody that's going to, not take any shit and be respected. But, we're not going to get Ancelotti. I think he's just signed a new contract at Real Madrid. Although you never know. That might not mean anything. De Zerbi for me equals Ten Hag. Carrick equals Ollie. McKenna equals Ollie. Any ex-player, any ex-employee. Potter. Yeah, I worry because I don't think there's necessarily. Sometimes it's like strikers. There's 3 or 4 strikers available in a summer, and then sometimes there's not. And sometimes there's 3 or 4 managers available. I think we're in a position at the moment where, there's not many obvious choices out there. Mark, it's my birthday, says Chikorito. Can you do a Sean Dyche impression on the rivalry between Goldbridge and Sean Dyche in career mode? I'm not, Chikorito, I'll say happy birthday. I'm not doing Sean Dyche tonight. I've got my throat sore from last night, so apologies. I'll keep it in the bank for you. I don't get it. Arteta got time and Klopp got time, says Spy. And if Man United lose to Tottenham and Wolves and Chelsea and beat the teams they're playing, they'll be 11th, says Michael. Yeah, I think we'll beat Tottenham next week. Chikorito's making me feel guilty now. Right, at the end of the day, Calvert-Lewin never should have got sent off. I've seen harder tackles in a fish shop. Absolute disgrace. See, it hurts. Bring in Zidane, says Saw. Look, Saw, I actually think that I'm going to have to be really respectful here. But I actually think that Zidane, as an option for Manchester United, belongs with the naive. Because everybody is entitled to an opinion. And if you want Zidane, that's absolutely fine. But I'm not in his WhatsApp group. But the evidence is already out there that Zidane won't take the Man United job. He's been approached twice and said a flat no twice. He hasn't learnt English, which he could do if you wanted to, you would do that if you want to come and manage in the Premier League. He's got no desire to take the Man United job. And Zidane is the sort of coach, like Pep, that takes the Bayern Munich job, or takes the Juventus job, or takes the Man City job. He doesn't go and take the Sampdoria job, or the Leverkusen job, or the Man United job. He's not going to take that type of a job. Zidane comes in where the structure's there and, makes it a little bit better. You know what? Zidane's a marginal gain manager. Zidane goes into clubs that are already set up but need that little bit extra. He ain't going to come into a club like United where it's like an absolute mess. And it surprises me that people suggest Zidane, because it betrays a lack of knowledge of the subject matter and also the type of coach that Zidane is or was at Real Madrid. He's not a rebuilder. He's not somebody that's going to go in and rebuild an entire club. And he certainly hasn't got any desire to do it because he's been offered it twice. So Zidane can't be a realistic option. The sad thing is, Ten Hag, the reason I was so excited about Ten Hag, and I think the reason so many of you were excited about Ten Hag, was because he fitted it. Yeah, he was a hipster choice, definitely. But he also was somebody that had built an Ajax team, and people don't give him the credit, but he did. And he was also somebody that was ready to take that step up, and he's hungry. I'm almost out of ideas. We're going to have to try one of the other options again. We're going to have to go for a Mourinho, one of the best managers in the world. We'll have to go for an elder statesman like Van Gaal. We could try a Premier League manager that's ready for a step up, but maybe not. Moyes. We could try, a homegrown talent that's worked at the club or played for the club, or we could go for another hipster choice like De Zerbi or Ten Hag was. So I think we're just going to have to go again and hope that we get it right. But let's not forget, whoever we go for next, hopefully won't have what Mourinho had, or Ollie had, or Van Gaal had, i.e. no decent director of football and no sporting director and no structure. The one advantage the next manager's got is clean slate with the structure above them. And that's something nobody's had for 10 years. This club has no standards that meet Zidane's standards, says Tony. And what, would you ever bring the United Stand football team back, says Dreco? No. I think it had its time. Would you take Tuchel if he leaves Bayern, says Sean? And hope is not a strategy, mate, says Akash. No, it's not. Would I take Tuchel? I mean, look, Tuchel's an interesting coach. Ancelotti's an interesting coach. It pains me to say it, but the best person for the Man United job would never take it is Jurgen Klopp. Jurgen Klopp's perfect. Absolutely perfect. And the parallels between Man United and Liverpool are closer than any fan wants to realise, whether it's a Liverpool fan or a Man United fan. The reason we dislike each other is because there's massive similarities. Liverpool got Klopp. We didn't. We never will. He's a Liverpool legend. He's never going to be a Man United legend. He's never going to manage Man United. But that's the sort of character you want. We could have done it. We could have done it a few years ago. But yeah. And I'm sure for a period of time, as much as they disliked us and disliked him, I'm sure a lot of Liverpool fans looked at Sir Alex Ferguson, was like, that's the type of manager we need. They were out in the wilderness for a long time. But Tuchel's a good coach, and he likes the English game. Then again, I say he's a good coach. He's about to sign Eric Dyer, so what's that all about? But yeah, it's all about the structure, says Michael. It is. It's going to be a hard job. It doesn't matter whether it's Qatar, Ineos, Glazers. The job is very, very difficult. But the reason the job is difficult is because of the Glazers. Managers have made mistakes, players have been toxic, but the reason we are where we are is because of the Glazers, and nothing is going to say that. How long will your tree stay up, says Jid. It's gone tomorrow. It's gone tomorrow. It probably will be here in the background in the morning, but it's gone tomorrow. It's all going to be down by tomorrow night's show. You've got to move on. You've got to move on. As I said, don't be bitter. We've had a great time. You've been part of the success, but it's time to go. And don't start slagging me off and putting tweets on Twitter, because you won't have access in the loft anyway, and that's very ungrateful because I built you. Take care, Mark. What's your all-time United 11, says Chikorito? I'd have to have a think about that, but it would certainly include people like David Beckham, Roy Keane, Peter Schmeichel, Nemanja Vidic, Cristiano Ronaldo. You know, they'd definitely be in there, definitely. Look, really enjoyed the show tonight. Thanks everyone for watching. Always love the Friday night show, and we are back in the morning at 10. We've got an 8 o'clock show tomorrow night as well. Don't normally do a Saturday night show, but we have got a show for you tomorrow night as well, 8 o'clock, because Man United aren't playing till Monday night, which I'm actually looking forward to in there. Would Rooney be in there? Well, depends what formation you play. If I played a 4-3-3, which I would, how do I get I want Beckham in there. I want Scholes in there. I want Keane in there. Would that be my midfield 3? Ronaldo, Rooney, Giggs. But then you haven't got Cantona. You haven't got Van Nistelrooy. My Man United best 11 changes all the time, but I don't dislike. I'd want Beckham in that team, and I'd want him to get wide. So I think I'd have to play Beckham wide right. Ronaldo maybe off the left, and Rooney down the middle. But then what would my midfield 3 be? Keane, Scholes, and you need a third midfielder to play in the midfield. 4-3-3 doesn't actually work that well with our history. Maybe you drop Rooney into the midfield of the 4-3-3 with Keane and Scholes, and then that allows you to put Van Nistelrooy or Cantona. I quite like that, actually. I quite like that. Keane, Scholes, Rooney, midfield 3 in the modern game. That would work really well with Rooney as your 10. Scholes as your 8. Keane as your holder. Ronaldo off the left. Or you could put Ronaldo down the middle and have Giggs and Beckham. Fucking hell. That tell you what, that'd be good. I like that. I like that. Keane holding the midfield. Scholes as your 8. Rooney as your 10. Giggs off the left. Beckham off the right. Ronaldo down the middle. Striker Ronaldo. That would be fucking good. That would be good. If you wanted to put Cantona in it, I think you'd have to play where Rooney is. I think you got to go. Yeah, I'd put. But then again, I don't know. You could play Cantona as the 9. Yeah, had some bloody good. Watch some bloody good players. You know, Van Nistelrooy was very good as well. And I liked Van Persie, but it was 1 year, so you know. Anyway, look, what a lovely way to end the show. Thanks everyone for watching. Welcome to the new members, by the way. Get your badge in. Thank you very much for that. And if you want to get one of these hoodies, I think we've got them pinned in the chat, or you can just go to United Stand Shopify. Love the red one, by the way. It's absolutely lovely. And I will see you tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Stay safe. And what a show. Thank you very much.